Next, the presidential election in the Philippines, scheduled for May 10th. Campaigns are heating up in the run-up to the election, which could bring about the first change of government in 9 years. Long-standing issues such as corruption and widening gaps between the rich and poor are the focus of attention. NHK World's Eileen Intia reports.
Who would be best to take over the incumbent President Gloria Arroyo? 3 candidates are set to vie for the country's leadership: Senators Benigno Aquino III and Manny Villar, and former President Joseph Estrada. Opinion polls have placed Mr. Aquino as the front-runner. His mother is former President Corazon Aquino, who succeeded deposed leader Ferdinand Marcos in the People Power Revolution 24 years ago. Armed with the Aquino image, he's calling for reforms to combat corruption and fraud.
Bakit hanggang ngayon ay saksi pa rin tayo sa pagpapasasa at pangungurakot?
The Aquino family members are the heroes of the Philippines. Soon he'll probably be one of them.
Trailing behind Aquino is Manny Villar. He's focused on the country's underprivileged. Helping him in his campaign is professional boxer Manny Pacquiao, a world champion and Philippine boxing hero. Pac-Man, as is known, was born into a poor farming family, but has risen to become a world boxing champion. Villar claims to be a poor shrimp vendor, but has made a fortune from his real estate business. With Pacquiao on his side, Villar hopes to gain public support with their similar rags to riches stories. He promises to eradicate poverty by creating jobs.
Na kung tayo pagpapalarin, sinasabi nila na hindi kaya tapusin ang paghihirap. Sinasabi ko po na kaya yan.
I want poor people to be able to go to school.
The administration of President Arroyo has also been pledging to solve the problem of poverty. But many people feel that the gap between the rich and the poor has widened over the past 9 years.
All the candidates say nice things, but I wonder if their promises will come true after they are elected.
As the May 10 election day nears, one question emerges. Who among the presidential aspirants will be able to resolve the long-standing problems of corruption and the widening gap between the rich and the poor? The elite landowner or the candidate with his rags to riches story? Eileen Intia, NHK World, Manila.
Joining us now in the studio is our reporter Chikashi Takaoka. So Chikashi, with 3 weeks remaining, how are the candidates doing in the presidential race?
Well, the latest opinion poll was by the private researchers was conducted at the end of March. Aquino was preferred by 37% of voters, whereas Villar stood at 29%. Former President Estrada is still supported by 17% of voters, even though he resigned 9 years ago over corruption issues. In the February poll, the difference between Aquino and Villar narrowed to only 2 percentage points. Now the gap is widening again. One reason is that Estrada is slightly gaining popularity at the bottom end. Both Villar and Estrada are popular among low-income voters, so what's happening here is that we are seeing the opinion of poorer citizens being split, benefiting Aquino.
And for the voters, policy-wise, what will be the key issue for them to decide who to choose?
Well, actually, it is hard to find major differences in policies among the candidates. Actually, the elections in this country often result in a sort of a popularity contest. This time again, the runners' personal images seem to be the biggest concern for voters. Aquino presents the image of a clean politician and is fierce in his criticism of current President Arroyo, who is mired in corruption scandals. The name of his mother, Corazon Aquino, who died last year, is also boosting his campaign. But because he was born to a distinguished family, some people are suspicious of Aquino's political ability or leadership.
Okay.
Villar, on the other hand, emphasizes his credentials as a self-made businessman. By differentiating himself from Aquino, he aims to gather support from poorer people. However, criticism is rising that Villar is hesitant in eradicating corruption because some people believe he has the support from the Arroyo group. So corruption in the Philippines has been something of an economic bottleneck because it has been hindering domestic business growth and keeping foreign companies away from this country. As a result, the GDP per capita is still just below the mid-range of ASEAN nations. So consequently, the candidates need to impress upon voters their resolve to eradicate the corrupt practices of the former administrations and to provide a blueprint for robust economic growth.
Thank you for your report. That was NHK World's Chikashi Takaoka.